You know what I like to do?
Talk into a microphone?
Yeah, and also get in on the action with sports
Have a big
interaction.
head.
Yeah. Wear bare feet in the freezing cold.
Be a dad.
Friggin' wear V-necks that are actually
It's not a V-neck, okay?
Sorry.
Sports interaction. NHL, NBA, MLB, so much more. It's the friend I don't have, clearly. Crazy Odds, best live and play. Download the app in Ontario. You can use the QR code at the bottom of the screen, or you can head to sportsinteraction.com/STPN to get started. 19 plus, please play responsibly and get better friends.
Yell at the computer. He does that too.
We need to start putting Jack Eichel into another tier of superstar.
Okay, I want to know about that. I want to know.
I want to hear what you have to say, and I have an answer for it.
Yeah.
Okay, because we don't talk about Jack Eichel in this upper echelon of superstars. We go through the Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews. We have that little group, and it's a little disrespectful to see what he's been doing in these playoffs, along with Mark Stone and the support from Barbashev, and Marchessault is now turning it on. And Jack Eichel has been absolutely on fire for the entire part of this run for them here, and he's been the leader. And it's a little disrespectful that we don't now put him into this upper echelon of superstar.
That's because of the poison of the NHL. And here's what I mean by that. So, you know how I've talked about no one likes the Golden Knights anymore? Mm-hmm. Because they're not the scrappy upstart.
They had one fun year, and then everybody hated them.
Well, yeah, because they've like traded guys away, like, you know, commodities. And they have like how many guys from the original team? 5? Mm-hmm. Like very few.
The Fleury situation.
Situation. All the cap shenanigans. Like no one likes that hockey team.
Yeah.
Like they're not the underdog. You know what I mean? Jack Eichel? No one likes Jack Eichel.
He's an underdog, though.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Why does nobody like Jack Eichel?
Because I think in NHL circles, it's held against him how he handled the Sabres saga.
You mean that he wanted to have control over how his neck was operated on?
At the end of the day, here he is, looking fit as a fucking fiddle, lighting it up in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Here's what these Stanley Cup playoffs are proof of. Jack Eichel was right. He was right to fight for his health. He was right to fight for his bodily autonomy. He made the right decision for the longevity of his career. Mm-hmm. And last year, he didn't look 100% amazing on a shorthanded team while playing with a broken hand. And we said, ha ha, dude who's coming off major neck surgery. Look at you, you suck ass.
I'm glad you mentioned the broken hand because everybody seems to ignore that.
I forgot about the broken hand.
Because we ignore those things for players we don't like.
I don't think it was actually like, it wasn't the hand. I think it was a pinky in particular. Some part of the hand that was.
Try holding your fucking stick with a broken
hand. Holding a pencil.
And he came back early to try and get the Golden Knights into the playoffs, if you remember, because they had that playoff race where they barely missed, and he came back with a broken, parts of his hand is broken just to try and get them in. What a gamer.
Yeah, what a gamer. And like, this isn't a shot at Sabres fans. Like, because I know a lot of Sabres fans don't love how that ended either. And I understand that.
I don't think Jack loves how that ended.
Well, nobody can be happy.
I think there's hurt feelings to go around, right? And at the end of the day, he might still be a Sabre if they just let him get his fucking surgery. And they wouldn't do that. He got it. He looks great out there. And he's the superstar we all thought he would be.
There was an air, I don't know if like from an outside perspective, because I'm not in the Sabres fandom day to day. I don't know if that's a secret, but there was always an air of they never wanted me with Jack Eichel because
from before he
that was his
it was the Mick Eichel draft, right?
Yeah.
And they wanted McDavid and they got Jack. And they never won anything, and it always felt like he never got there with the organization.
You saw what was that guy? Tim Murray. What was it?
No, it wasn't Tim.
Bob Murray?
No. Tim. Who was it?
Tim Murray.
Wasn't Tim Murray the coach, or was that Bob Murray?
GM.
What are we talking about?
I don't know. Sabres. Hold on.
Whoever the GM.
Let me look it up.
Bob Gainey.
No, it's not Bob Gainey. It is
Tim Reynolds.
Tim Murray.
Oh.
Now,
Tim Jim.
Tim Murray's face on Wikipedia is exactly the face that he gave when he lost the first overall pick to Edmonton. He was fucking miserable.
Show me the face.
So was me.
Here, I'll send you the. This is the. Hold on. Tim Murray's face when he lost the first overall pick. I'm gonna look at it. Well, you can even read the fucking quotes. He said, "I'm disappointed for our fans."
Oh, I got the CBS article.
Yeah,
that's
I'm disappointed for our fans that they ended up with Jack Eichel. How is a guy supposed to feel good when you're 18 and your new GM's like, you're a disappointment?
Yeah.
And you are a generational talent. And honestly, he is.
Yeah, you're a first overall pick in most years, and also suck.
Jack Eichel was probably, Austin Matthews was the next first overall pick. But after those two, Jack Eichel would have been the best first overall pick for 2 or 3 years.
Can I read some of this?
That's a tough one. You might not be wrong.
Can I read some of this?
Please.
Because it's not great. So Tim Murray said this. He says, I watch him too much and I think too much about him. I wish I could help myself, Murray said, sounding less like an NHL GM and more like a boy with a crush.
Yeah.
When something like that gets out there, the fan base knows that the GM has eyes for only one player and anything less simply isn't enough because it's not going to be enough for the GM. Ooh. Everyone knows that there was a chance at something a little better, but that's why you can't pin your hopes on 20%. Murray said he is disappointed for the fans, but he's the one that set them up for this disappointment. He did it by constructing a roster that couldn't win, hanging on to a coach that couldn't win as badly as he wanted to, making the public statements that he did about McDavid.
I should have never.
There are other ways the Sabres set the fan base up for this kind of disappointment too.
He should have demanded a trade.
He should have gone.
Hey man, Sabres fans ended up hating him anyway. They should have hated him earlier.
Should have gone back to university. Holy fuck!
So
that's so bad.
When you look at that, think about that in just like a normal corporate setting.
That's Chris Peters, by the way, who's writing that back in 2015.
That's grounds for dismissal. If you talked openly about somebody.
Was that Chris Peters' words or was that all Tim Murray?
No, that's Chris Peters writing about the Tim Murray wanting.
Tim Murray did say though.
He says,
"quote I set the fans up for failure." Or sorry.
No, that's Tim Murray.
Oh, he did.
So this is Murray's words about Connor McDavid. I watch him too much. I think too much about him. I wish I could help myself. And then Peters wrote that blurb about how Tim Murray has been acting in the media.
So
that part's the only quote, just so everyone's clear.
This year Connor Bedard is a monster. He's an actual fire-breathing dragon, scary under your bed monster. The Blackhawks are going to get him first overall. Second overall, not sure who the Ducks are going to get, but did you notice how... Did anything in either of you go, oh yeah, it's the Ducks? Did you know that the Ducks had the second overall?
They didn't say shit.
Yeah.
By the way,
because I think they took a lesson from how the Jack Eichel situation was handled.
But
just shut up.
Yeah, I gotta say, and they, the reason that Tim Murray was, first off, it's a hockey mad market. Number two, they were the story that year in terms of, and they had been the story about the teardown. We're doing this intentionally. This is what we want to do. And then here's the problem with Tim Murray is he surrounded Eichel with a bunch of guys who were bad, overpriced guys who were bad contracts. And unfortunately, the Kyle Okposo contract, he got sick. You can't plan for that.
Yeah, no.
But the Matt Molson deal, disaster. And there was a few other ones that were just terrible. And I think there's a reason he's not worked in the NHL since then, or at least as a general manager. That is terrible leadership and a terrible precedent to set. Mm-hmm. And when you got guys like Ryan O'Reilly leaving and going, I lost my love of the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's so funny because I just clicked on who was on the Sabres Jack Eichel's rookie year. So he was their leading goal scorer with 24. Ryan O'Reilly led them in points with 60.
Do you know what happened immediately after leaving Buffalo and getting traded?
He won the Conn Smythe Trophy.
He won the Stanley Cup and the Conn Smythe Trophy.
Yeah.
Jack Eichel's on a very similar trajectory right now. There's something about leaving Buffalo.
Well, the way they used to be set up, I think they're changing now.
Oh my God, they're so different. This isn't the same franchise at all. I don't want Buffalo fans to get twisted at all. They are in a completely different place.
Well, Jesse, I think you're too late. They've already written their hate comments on the video section.
Dude, no,
comments are already there.
These aren't the same run teams. Like the one that tanked for Jack Eichel and then had that whole saga go on in the Ryan O'Reilly trade. The team that we saw this season isn't the same.
Some guys from this team have gone on to have really good careers. Ryan O'Reilly, obviously, the second he left. Jack Eichel now. You know who else was on that team and is having a really, really, really good playoff? Sam Reinhart.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to mumble my way through Rasmus Ristolainen. And then we get to Evander Kane, who
Oh, yeah.
that's complicated, but he's found his spot in the league. Marcus Foligno is a really effective player for Minnesota. Man, I didn't think 15-16 was that long ago, but Jesus Christ, Brian Giunta, David Legwand.
Oh, wow.
A very young Jake McCabe, a very not young Carlo Koliakovo, Evan Rodriguez was on that team. Robin Leonard and Linus Ullmark
No way.
were both on that team.
Yeah.
And guess who played the most games? You're right, Chad Johnson. Who, by the way, had a 920.
If you took the best parts of that team and just kept them together, that team's probably in the conference finals right now.
Here's another name to add to that list a couple years later. You ready? Left on the scrap heap for nothing. He was great. He had great analytics, and then he went to Buffalo, and he was garbage. And people were like, this guy sucks. Get him out of my mirror. And this year, he had 73 points. Who am I talking about?
Taylor Hall?
Brandon Montour.
Oh, yeah.
Man, okay. Like
73 points this year. In Buffalo, he had 10, 18, and 14. Now, he was injured part of that. But, you know, the advanced stats people were like, I don't know anymore. But
he had to be pried out of Anaheim too. Wow.
Yeah.
This year's been the Brandon Montour coming out party.
Oh, yeah. And
What
I
a
think we
great
expected him to
playoffs
be.
from him.
In Buffalo's defense, he went from career high 38 points to like
13.
nearly 80.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You mean in Buffalo? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Career high
yeah,
38
yeah,
in Anaheim to like 13 the next year.
He, I think, was with Florida.
It's nice to see for the Sabres that's turned around, but it's nice to see for Jesse getting back to that original point. And he is, you know,
No, let's muddy the water.
when Mark Stone played against the Montreal Canadiens, and remember his stat line was 0, 0, 0, 0.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
like-
man, Vegas was disappointing in that series.
They were, and I think now with Chandler Stevenson playing more of a role that he should play, he's a good player. And Mark Stone is able to be, first off, he's healthy, but he's able to be a little bit more of what he is. Jack Eichel clearly was the piece that Vegas was missing in that Montreal series in the conference finals.
Oh, man.
He's
so bad.
He's arguably like their best center in franchise history.
Has to be.
I don't think there's an arguably about it. You could argue William Karlsson had a better single season.
Sure. Yeah, the 42
far.
goal one. Yeah.
So far.
Yeah.
But
in terms of point totals, but in terms of like the player skill, Jack Eichel, the thing that impresses me so much about his game last night and throughout the playoffs, he's so fast.
Yes.
I didn't know he's like one of the fastest players on the ice at any moment. The dude's quick and he's unbelievable to watch.
I think too, when you look at him coming off this, so last season with Vegas, they didn't make the playoffs. Robin Leonard goes down towards the end of the year. There's a bunch of controversy. They fire the coach. It was a mess last year in Vegas. They missed the playoffs for the first time.
Part of the reason no one likes
And people were like, see, Alex Tuck, way better get. And I think Buffalo did benefit from the Eichel trade. I think it was a perfect trade.
Because they both
did
won.
well.
Yes.
But you got to remember that Eichel did have that injury. And I'm going to harken back to the Leafs with Tavares. Once he had that knee to the head from Corey Perry, accidental in the Montreal series, the next year he comes back, he's still point a game, but he's not the same. And then it takes another year. You go, oh, that's John Tavares. That's the John Tavares that I know. And this year he had a spectacular year. We'll get to it later, but Leaf fans for some reason hate him again, and I don't get it.
We're just sort of upset with life.
I think we're just upset with life. He's actually, John Tavares is
Can
not
you
your
blame
problem.
us? Like,
But I think that, you know, you got to give people a little bit of time to like heal up and become what they are. I mean, imagine having a broken hand. We talked about you got a sore hand. You can't even lift a dinner plate.
well, You know, I'm seeing some interesting revisionist history with Sergei Bobrovsky. Because people are like, well, it's almost like he's won multiple Vezina.
Oh, stop it.
And I want to be like,
Stop. He didn't even start the playoffs. Fuck off.
also, he's been shit for
2 years.
several years, at least two.
Since he signed that contract.
He lost his starting job like 4 times in the last 4 years.
He was their third best goalie this regular season.
Would he have even played in these playoffs if Spencer Knight was injured?
It's
Who knows?
possible
Wasn't
he
injured.
wouldn't have.
Yeah.
It's possible he wouldn't have. And
But look at him.
here he is, as good as his Blue Jacket self, if not better.
And that's not to discredit his run right now. It's to say that to
It's a
get
story.
to get to this point was kind of a really rocky journey.
Well,
and stop
full of
pretending you're
injury.
not surprised.
Full of injury, though.
And full of injury.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Stop pretending you're not surprised by this. It's surprising. And it's great. It's a great story. But don't be that fucking hipster who's like, well, I knew. Let's see your bets then. Yeah? Did you put money on Bobrovsky even playing a game in these playoffs? Don't think so. I'm sorry. Like, give me a break.
no, it's an awesome story. He's
It's
playing
fantastic.
absolutely out of his mind. We haven't seen a goalie steal playoffs like this since.
Ottinger.
Yeah, but
Vasilevsky was unbelievable in a lot of the
Underrate Vasilevsky because the team
But he
in front
didn't
of him, though.
steal. He didn't steal it. No,
I would say Holtby with the Caps. He stole that series against Tampa. I would say. He had shutouts in Game 6 and Game 7. That's nuts.
I don't remember as well as you.
But even then, like and what's amazing about that is he didn't start those playoffs.
No.
He didn't
No, he
start those
didn't.
playoffs
It was-
for his team. It was Philip Grubauer.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing how many like iconic goaltending performances, like Stanley Cup winning goaltender performances, came from guys who did not start the playoffs with their team.